and welcome back to a new watercolor video. So today I'm doing another paint along tutorial of this cute little pumpkin shop, and you can download this line drawing on my Patreon. I'll leave a link below. Yeah, I'll link all the brushes and everything and the paints that I'm using, which are Daniel Smith again. I'll list them all below. Actually, I just want to point out the painting doesn't actually start until about 9 minutes into the video, because I've got a few other things. I've recorded a little haul as well because I got an order from Jackson's, so I'm opening that, and then there was just a few other things that I wanted to talk about. So if you want to skip right to the beginning of the tutorial, skip about 9 minutes in. I've got the pencil sketch onto the paper. I just want to point a couple of things out. On the paper itself, I haven't drawn the outline of the tree because last time when I did this one, yeah, it left that outline, so I don't want that. And also inside the windows, I've just left those faint, because that will be quite faint because it's inside the building. So I haven't put strong pencil lines there, just so that it's easier when I come to paint it. There's a lot of detail there, so that'll make it much easier if all the little elements that are inside the shop, the pencil's a lot paler. The box, I've kind of rounded the corners off a little bit. And then this little post here, it was too far over, so I've moved that over. And yeah, if you look on the door, all these parts here, I've kind of rounded the corners. So if you want to do that as well, I think it looks a lot better. But it's up to yourself if you want to do that or not. I just thought I would point those little things out. And I'm going to use Daniel Smith paints again for this one. I just want to say something about the paints. Well, first of all, I've had quite a few people asking about this tin, which is absolutely beautiful, and it's by Christy Rice. She has a channel, you've probably already heard of her. She's got a watercolor channel and she makes really beautiful products with her patterns on, and she's got these in a few different designs and I absolutely love them. Yeah, I've had loads of questions about that, so that's where I got that from. And this tin, I have only Daniel Smith paints in this one. I've had a few questions about this as well. So what I'll do is, if you want to see which Daniel Smith colours I have, if you want to just pause the screen, you could maybe write them down. So that's all the colours that I have in Daniel Smith. And I'm using Daniel Smith. I've been using them for these tutorials so far. Not because I favour Daniel Smith. I mean, I love the Daniel Smith paints, but there's just some excellent autumn colours, like especially this Aussie Red Gold and the Quinacridone Orange. So that's probably why I'm kind of picking these paints. Now, I might be swapping from different brands of paints going forward, so I don't want you to think that you need to go out and buy a load of Daniel Smith paints, because then you might be disappointed, because next week I'll be using Winsor & Newton or the Gansai Tambi paints, or just swapping about, because I've got quite a few different brands. But you don't have to buy the exact same colours as me. If you've got a different brand, just pick a similar colour, because a lot of them are very, very much the same. Now, Daniel Smith do have some really nice, interesting colours, but a lot of the basics, such as like burnt umber, burnt sienna, they're in nearly every paint set, no matter what brand you have. So yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. Okay, before we start, I've just received an expensive package from Jackson's. No, I've just received a exciting package from Jackson's. So I thought I'll open this on camera, because it's some supplies that I'm going to be using in future videos. And it's always interesting to see a package being opened, especially when it's got art supplies. Okay, saw this a bit back and I really, really wanted it. It's absolutely beautiful, of this pink Da Vinci paintbrush, but I'm looking, it looks like it's a little bit damaged. Kind of looks like it's damaged here, the blacks kind of. Oh no, it's underneath the plastic. It looked like it was, can you see how it's all weird there? But it's tight, it's underneath that plastic, so it must be. Yeah, so look at that. Totally unnecessary, but I thought I would treat myself because it's just so beautiful. But it's just one of them things, isn't it? You'll have it for life. That's the way I look at it. So it's by Da Vinci, pretty pink, limited edition, pink paintbrush. Yeah, watercolor brush, bound by hand, extra soft synthetic fibres. Very good. If you've just come for the painting tutorial, you can maybe just skip forward a little bit if you don't want to watch this. I've got 3 more colours in the Caran d'Ache Neo Art 6901. So I'm going to maybe build up a little collection of these. So I've got a nice bright pink. So I've got purplish red, chrysocolla blue and violet, and also bismuth white. It's kind of like an off-white colour. And I've got this, another one of the little Holbein granulating paints, and this one's Wonder Forest Green. I've got 2 acrylic gouaches here. I've ordered some more colours, but I've got beige, burnt umber, and I've got another package on the way actually, because I ordered some more of these. And I think this is a free item. My order qualified for something free. Jackson's graphite pencils. Oh, nice. That's a nice free item, isn't it? Beautiful set of pencils. So starting from 2H, so the very, very dark, the lightest one is 2H, and then it goes all the way to 10B. Ooh, nice. Also, just one more thing before we get started. I've had a few comments on just various different videos, the ones with buildings, regarding perspective and kind of things to do with accuracy, but they're just fun, whimsical paintings. So, you know, I'm not an expert on perspective. I only know the basics. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the perspective or the roof placement or anything. It doesn't matter even if there was, because they're just whimsical paintings, which kind of just means that you know, they don't need to be accurate. It's just a bit of fun. And actually my videos are more about the watercolor painting than the accuracy of the perspective and things like that. It's about how to use watercolor paints. That's what it's about. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. It's just a bit of fun. They're just whimsical paintings. So for example, there's probably absolutely loads of stuff wrong with this. I mean, this roof here, that kind of sticks out a little bit too much. I don't think it would. I think it would maybe end a bit further in, I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. This this little box here I've put here, that's probably not technically a perfect way to draw a cube shape. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just about, and especially this, I don't know what kind of mess I've made here, but when it's all painted, it'll just look cute. It'll look nice. It's fine. So I'm just looking to see if I've got any really super tiny detail brushes, because I have ordered a really tiny one, but it hasn't arrived yet. Oh, here we go. 0, 0, 0, 0. Maybe that would be better for the really tiny details. This is an Anna Mason brush. Now I've got a 0, 0, 0, 0 on the way, but it hasn't arrived yet. And I don't understand these numbers. So 3 over 0, is that the same as, sometimes they're called 3, 0, 0, 0, 0. So yeah, I think that's what that must mean, in which case I already do have these tiny brushes. So if anybody knows, could you let me know in the comments, is that supposed to be the same? A brush with 3 zeros and then this brush that says 3/0, does that mean the same thing? Or is it 2 different sizes? But I'm going to keep this one out because this one's quite pointy. I think it'll be good for those tiny little details. Oh, I've literally just found this one. 10 over 0. I don't think you're going to get much smaller than that. Wait and see how small it is. So this is the Anna Mason one. which is the tiniest one I thought I had. And then look at that one. How tiny is that? I'm wondering if it'll even pick up any paint because it's so small. So I'm going to start with the trees first of all. So I'm going to mix up the colours for those. So I want some Quinacridone Gold, some Aussie Red Gold, some Quinacridone Burnt Orange, quite strong, that one. With a kneaded eraser, I'm going to dab out a little bit of the graphite on these branches because I just don't want it to smudge and ruin that lovely orange colour. I'm going to use the mop brush for this, small mop brush. I'm going to start with the Aussie Red Gold, or just the brightest rusty orange that you've got. And I'm going to just kind of dab and make a tree shape. Just going to go over those branches slightly. And then I'm going to get some of the Quinacridone Gold, quite watery, and I'm going to do the top part of the tree in that. I'm going to water that down a bit more because I want it to be very, very pale at the top. And I'm just going to do this to try and concentrate on this actual silhouette of the tree. I mean, I'm not very good at trees. I don't have tree painting skills, but I'm just looking at reference pictures and trying to work out the outline. Try and get rid of that harsh line at the bottom. Then I'm getting some of the Quin Burnt Orange. It's really, really strong. And I'm just going to dab some in. Just kind of dab it in. I'm not really great with trees, but a bit more Aussie Gold. I'm just basically changing the colours up and dropping it in. With a little bit of clean water on the brush, I'm going to go over those edges again, try and lift some of that out and make it a little bit paler. Got some of that Quin Burnt Orange on my brush. I'm going to make it even darker next to the house. And just dab some more of that in. And I'm going to drop some water in, just a few drops of water. I don't want total cauliflower shape, so, and then just spread that out a little bit, just blend that out a little bit, just to give a little bit more variety and texture in there. And then I'll do the same with the other one.
I just wanna go out on a walk with you, baby, you know I just like to talk with you. You don't have to.
Still going to take out even more. I don't want that harsh edge all the way around. I'm going to try and take some of that out. And then with some really, really watery Quin Gold, like super watery, I'm just going to add a few little dots. Yeah, just mess that line up a little bit actually. That looks a little bit better. Mess it up with like little dotted leaves. And then once it's dry, we'll add some more texture over that, but we'll move on to the house next. Just got some clean water on a little eradicator brush, and I'm just going to get rid of this part here where it's gone over onto the house. So just scrub on that and then absorb it with the kitchen towel, and most of it's gone. So we're just going to use the same colours as we did for the trees, and I'm also going to use raw umber. Now I'm going to get some of that raw umber and really water it down. And I'm going to use that to do a base layer over some of the areas. So I'm going to do the whole of, don't want it to be quite that dark, so I'm going to water it down even more. And I'm going to do just a very light base layer over all the areas that I want to be this kind of brown colour. So I'm going to do the chimney and then some of the framework. And I've switched to a little round number 3 brush for this. I'm going to erase a couple of these so that I can fit the shop name there. I've realised they are going to be in the way because I want to give the shop a name. Now I've smudged that graphite everywhere. So you don't need to have your graphite that dark. I've made it quite dark so that it shows up on camera, but it can be quite smudgy, so yeah, I'm gonna have to roll some of it out. It's just a little bit too dark.
Thing that's new. I just wanna go out and walk with you. I just wanna see your shadow next to mine, sailing over pavement with our 2 outlines. I like to see the shape you're in from time to time. I just wanna see your shadow next to mine. I just wanna see the same things you can see, understand the meaning.
Now I'm not going to put a blue sky on this one. It's all going to be kind of like one kind of colour and just like browny orange autumn colours. But I'm going to get some of that really light watered down burnt umber, and I'm just going to add, just to take away that harsh kind of edge on the trees, just maybe just a little bit of that, but just super watered down.
Maybe that could happen when you're next to me. I just wanna see the same things you can see.
I'm not liking this hard edge on this tree, it's just too much. So I'm just trying to fade it out a little bit. But I think it's stained the paper now, so I'm probably stuck with it. Okay, I've just done the roof and unfortunately the camera wasn't recording. But this is also going to be the same as this, so I'll show you on this little bit what I did. Put down a base layer of Aussie Red Gold. These are going to be like little roof tiled areas. Then a little bit of Quinacridone Orange around the edges. And then some really strong raw umber on the brush, and then I went around the edges with that as well. And then kind of blend it, but also let it be lighter in the middle a little bit. Now I'm going to experiment with the little detail brushes to paint some roof tiles on here. So start with the larger one, which is a 0030. I'm going to paint a strong line around the edges. Yeah, I think this 10/0 is definitely working a little bit better for this detail. And I might put in some black fine liner at the end, just depending on how well these little bricks are standing out. Yeah, I'm going to lift a bit of this back out. It's too dark. I want it to be more orange coloured. They're kind of like terracotta roof tiles. So I'll just wet that down with the eradicator brush. Dab it back out. Just going to paint in the Quinburn orange. And then I'll just add the bricks again when it's dried. And I think I'll put a little layer of Quinburn orange over this as well, just to try and make them match. So just like a little glaze over the top of there. I'm going to use this little brush now to paint some bricks onto the chimney. This is like a long flat brush, so it's kind of flat like this, and you can paint little brick shapes with it. I'm going to make this side of the chimney in shadow. I'm going to make some of them lighter and some of them a little bit darker. Paint another layer of raw umber across the roof, this edge on the roof, and then with some stronger colour drop in a little bit of a shadow just to this side, maybe across the bottom. So if you notice, I keep on drying each little stage as I go. I'm trying to remember to do that because I keep forgetting, and then the colours run into each other. So that's all completely dry now, and I'm going to move on to the rest of the wooden framework. The same that I did with this, I'm going to do on all these other wooden bits, and the door as well, and also this and the box. So I'm just going to use that one colour, the raw umber. Then I'm getting some of the darker mix of the raw umber, and I'm going underneath here. I'm going to do a dark line right across, then get some paint a little bit more watery, rub across that line and drag it down to the bottom. So it's going to look like this is all in shade. And then with a tiny detail brush, I'm going to put just some little lines. I'll go around the edge, little line here, just to make them little legs stand out. I'm gonna add a line here. I'm gonna go all around these little bits here to make them stand out. Give it a little bit of shading. Around the edge of the door. On this little panel here, there would be a little bit of shadowing up at the top there. Just drop in some stronger colour in the corners. I'm going to use the mop brush, and I've got like a tiny little bit of the raw umber, really watered down, and then I'm just going to give a little bit of texture here on the white area of the building. So we want it to be kind of a white building, but add some little bits of texture as well, so it's kind of barely there. So I'm just doing it with the side of the brush, a little bit of dry brush effect. I'm going to completely dry that. I'm going to mix a shadow colour, so I'm going to get some Jane's Grey and raw umber. Get a little bit of that. Add a lot of water to it, so it's fairly watery. And then with the mop brush, I'm going to add some strong shadows. I'm going to try that out on a scrap of paper. In fact, I'll add a little bit more Jane's Grey to that. It's a little bit, yeah, good colour. Right, so we want some shadowing kind of under the eaves. So I'm going to take it right down here. On this side as well. It's not really as much on that side. I'm going to lift a little bit of that out. It's too much on that side. And then under here, this is awning, so we're going to have a strong shadow under here, and it's because it's fabric and it's wavy, so the shadow kind of will be as well. So we just don't need it to be even, and I'm just going to take that right across underneath there, further down. Take it right to the edge of the house. Little bit over onto the doorway. Then I've got some stronger Jane's Grey on my brush, not too watery, quite strong, and I'm gonna just go up here and add a dark shadow right underneath there, just in the very corners, just to darken those corners. And then with a clean damp brush, just rub on the edge of that to get rid of that harsh line. I'm going to move on to the awning, so I'm going to get some of, it's going to be the same colours as the trees, so I'm going to get some really light Quinacridone Gold. So it's watered down, so it just looks like a kind of yellow colour. Then I'm going to get Quin Burnt Orange. Drop that in the top, let it bleed down. So I'm just doing this with my brush to get it kind of random, so in some places it comes a little bit further down. And then I'm going to make it even darker by getting it straight from the pan. Put that across the top. Pull it down in some places. And make that the line was too straight, so I'm wobbling that up a little bit. And I'm using really light Quinacridone Gold, super watered down. I'm going to paint all of the insides of the window so it looks like there's a light on the inside. Going to go right over the top of that shadow in there. Then I'm going to get some strong Quin Gold right off the pan and I'm going to drop some little bits in. I'm going to paint another layer of raw umber across this strip here. This is like a strip of wood. Make these a little bit darker. And then with the raw umber Jane's Grey mix, with the Jane's Grey I'm going to add more shadowing underneath here, but just a small strip, just to kind of define the edge of that. I've got some Jane's Grey on the brush and I'm going to create just really watery, and I'm going to just add a little bit of colour to these window frames. And a little bit stronger I'm going to do a shadow, so I'm just going to do a diagonal down there, right across there, make that a little bit darker actually. So this is a shadow that this little piece of roof is casting over here, so you kind of go out that way. I'm gonna, on the windows, I've got that mix again and I'm gonna make these little shaded areas up at the top left, so the top left corner, and then dragging across and down in like a curve. But blend it in as well, blend that line. I'm going to paint some very faint details in these windows, so really watered down shadow mix, so the burnt umber mixed with the Jane's Grey, super watered down. I'm just going to make it look like there's a shelf going across, and then yeah, so just like really faint. And then with really strong Jane's Grey, I'm gonna get the little detail brush and then just draw in a black cat. So 2 little layers. And it doesn't have to be super strong because kind of behind the glass. And now I'm going to paint in again with a very weak mixture. Just a few little hints of pumpkins on the inside of the shop. Now I'm going to move on to pumpkins. And I'm going to use my little liner brush and I'm going to use the Aussie Red Gold, paint all the little pumpkins. So just super bright orange. Dry those off. So I'm just now adding shading to these with the Quin Burnt Orange. I'm just doing it to the left hand side and the bottom in kind of like a C shape. Raw umber on these little parts here, a little bit darker to the top, and then watery further down. bit of burnt umber across here towards the bottom. I'm just going to rough that up a little bit across the edge. Give a little bit of dry brush on that. A little bit darker underneath this window. Darker at the edges. A little box. I'm going to do a little darker area in the middle. And then this side. Okay, that's what it's looking like so far. I'm going to add a little bit more to the trees next. So I'm going to get some Quinacridone Gold on the brush. And just add some of that all over. Just to, because that colour's gone a little bit flat now after it's dried. I'm going to go slightly overlap the edge with the brush. I'm going to get Quin burnt orange and just drop some little bits in, just little tiny bits into that wet paint, just in random places, just to give the hint of some little leaves. A little bit more further down. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit of foliage here behind, a little bit of autumn foliage.
Easy rider on the highway, station wagon going slow, windows open, you are basking in the bluegrass radio. It is easy now to see you with your hand out on the wind. I keep this folded at the corner.
Okay, so raw umber on the brush. I'm gonna put the ground in now. So I want some strong raw umber. I'm gonna go right across here. I'm gonna leave that little step there.
Pink azaleas by your driveway, shade our leisurely goodbyes. In your terry cotton.
Wash the brush out, swipe right across, lift some of that out, dry the brush, lift it out, dry the brush, get a little bit of some of the autumn colours and just drop that in a little bit. Get a little bit of raw umber on the brush again, and just drop in a little bit of texture here and there. Stronger colour and go back over that edge just to...
With your arms sweeping the sky, it was then I had...
Now I'm going to paint in the tree branches, so just want some really, really strong raw umber and a liner brush. And just paint in those tree branches.
Folded at the corner so that I could not forget. Folded at the corner so that I could not forget.
Okay, so I think that's it for paint. Now I'm going to move on to black fine liner, and hopefully this will really finish the picture off. I actually forgot to add the shop name here. So it's going to be called Umber Acres. So I'm going to write it in pencil as a guide and then paint it with the raw umber. So I'm going to use one of these pens with this type of nib at the end, but you can use whatever you want. It's just this one you can get thicker lines, and up on the point you can get finer lines as well. So I'm going to use that one. Now, because it's the final layer and you're not going to paint over the top, you don't need to use waterproof ink. This is waterproof ink, but if you haven't got waterproof ink, that's absolutely fine. So I'm basically just going to outline everything now. I'm just doing a little bit of hatching in them corners to darken them corners and bringing out just a few of the tiles. I'm going to make it look like these bricks are kind of sticking out a little bit at the edges. So for the awning, I'm going to do a dark wobbly line across here, across the edge, make that yellow really stand out. And then I'm just going to add lots of lines. So mainly pointing this way on this side and then pointing that way on that side. And bring some from this end as well. See where it goes up there, then I'll do like a line there. And I'm going to add some little stalks to the pumpkins and then outline those as well. I think I'll add a little bit more shadow around here to try and make the house look a bit lighter, like stand out a little bit more. Make the shadow a little bit darker here, underneath here. I don't think it's dark enough. Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. So it's another cute little painting. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have another video up on Friday.